Hi, I'm Dee and I have a group on Facebook called Very Basic Maths UK. Today I just want to talk to you a little bit about why so many people struggle with maths. If that's you and you've ever felt that panic, thinking everybody else understands this and I don't, this might be one, explain why. When we start learning maths, perhaps as a very young child, we might learn first of all to count, but before we even count, we would need to know things like, when we see that symbol, we say it's 3. We also need to know the numbers of the orders, so we know we say 1, 2, 3, 4. If you've ever heard a small child count, they might take a deep breath and count up to 10, but get some of the numbers the wrong way round or miss a number out. So we have to learn all those things. We also need to know that when we see that number 3, it means the same thing as 3 items. If you ever watch a small child counting with sweets in front of them, if you put down about 6 sweets and you have to catch them at just the right time to see this happen, you put 6 sweets out and you put them quite close together, and when they start to count, if they haven't learnt that each number means an item, they'll count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they might not get to 6, and you say well done, because you're not going to tell them they've got it wrong. You then spread those sweets out and say count again, and this time they might count to 7 or 8 because the sweets are further out, but there's actually only 6 sweets there. So they're things that we need to learn as we're growing up, and I like to think of it as a wall of bricks. Never built a wall, but it might look something like this. All the different things we need to learn are our foundation. That's what we need to learn first off. Once you can count, you can learn to add up. That's sort of another stage. We have to build on each thing. You might learn to recognise matching shapes and then learn the names of those shapes, and later on learn their properties, so that you know that you might recognise that a square matches another square. Later on learn that it's called a square, and later on still you'd learn that it has 4 sides, it has right angles and so forth. So we build on our knowledge. These aren't very good bricks, but hey. Now, as long as we've always got the foundations right and we're building up by level, we can get a wall that's quite stable. But what sometimes happens, especially once you get to school age, there might be some reason why you've not learnt a bit of maths. So it could be that you were off sick, you perhaps had something like chicken pox and you're off school for 2 or 3 weeks, and when you come back the class has moved on and you're not the same stage as everybody else and you don't quite understand what they're doing next. And if you're quite clever, you'll manage to cope, but that bit of information is still missing. It could be that you've got a lot going on at home, so if a parent was ill, or if parents are going through difficulties like divorce or anything like that at home, you're not really in the right place to be learning when you get to school. So you can miss bits of information. It might be that you have a teacher that you don't feel comfortable to ask questions, or if you've, as happened to me, you put your hand up and ask a question and you get made to feel stupid because the question they've asked they think is a stupid question. But I will say to you that whenever that happens, you're not the only one. There'll be other people sitting in that classroom thinking the same thing you're thinking and just not brave enough to ask that question. But then they don't get to feel stupid. You do, because you've asked the question. There are lots of reasons why you might miss a bit of information. So what happens when we do that? And I'll try and draw this a little bit better. We start building up with our knowledge. But can you see we've got a gap there? That's the gap of knowledge that we've missed for one of the reasons perhaps I've already said. So what happens when we start to try and build on that? There's nothing supporting where that brick should be. So other bricks can't sit properly on top of it. So as you're learning more and more, your wall becomes quite a mess. And what happens then when you start to try and build on top of that, you start to become panicky and anxious because you don't have the required skills and knowledge to learn the new pieces of information and new pieces of maths. And maths is quite unique, I think, in that. I think in other subjects you can miss bits. History, you could perhaps not know what the Tudors did, but still learn what happened with the Romans or in World War II or whatever. But in maths, you can't. You need each bit of information to build upon. So in my work as a tutor of adults, what I've always tried to do is find out what the missing bit of information is. And sometimes it can be quite a long way down the wall. And it's good to find out what that is, take it back to those basics, sort that bit out, then you can start building on the top. So if you ever don't understand, it's important to say you don't understand and remember that actually it's not your fault. If you don't understand and you're trying to understand, if you don't understand, it's your teacher's fault. That's what I always used to say. It's my fault and I need to find another way to explain things to you. Thank you very much.